It's time now for part 9 of our ongoing series, delving into the financing and donors of the Democratic presidential primary contenders. And joining us now to break down the financing of Joe Biden, Sarah Kleiner, federal politics reporter for the Center for Public Integrity. Thank you for your ongoing work analyzing these candidates. So Joe Biden, he's a person that we know quite a bit about in comparison to some others, but not necessarily specifically about his financing. So I want to run through some of the normal questions that we go through in terms of like personal wealth, ability to self-finance his campaign. How does he stack up?
So Joe Biden doesn't have the level of wealth, or at least as far as we know from his last financial disclosures, he didn't have the kind of wealth that, say, an Elizabeth Warren had. He actually was potentially in the hole in 2016. His assets were below about $1 million. His liabilities were about that much too. So he's since then gained wealth for the first time through speeches and books, according to the New York Times. So he is financially in a better place than he was in 2016.
I think that is one of the most fascinating things about your write-up that people can find at the Center for Public Integrity. I would have just assumed that for the time that he's spent in Washington and in the White House and his time since, that he would have written books and given speeches and all that. But he's actually, like, look, he's very wealthy compared to a regular person, but compared to the other candidates, not necessarily the case, which is very interesting. So also he's been fundraising for a very long time, many Senate campaigns and all of that. How successful has he been overall in generating donations?
Sure, he's been in federal politics for almost 5 decades. It's a long time. He's run for president twice, unsuccessfully. This is his 3rd bid. He has been a successful fundraiser in the past. This is going to be a very interesting race on the Democratic side, because a lot of the candidates are really pushing hard for small dollar donors, and they're making a huge deal about trying to get as many people giving small dollar contributions, and we're talking about $200 or less. Joe Biden actually has kind of made a push for large contributions. It seems like he's relying on some of the party's wealthiest donors to help his campaign. He raised $6.3 million, his campaign announced, in the first 24 hours. Wow. That was from 96,000 people. In the first quarter, Bernie Sanders raised money from 525,000 people. So Biden is definitely, and since he announced so late, he's going to be playing some catch up as far as getting grassroots donors to support his campaign.
That's interesting. So he does have a lot of donors, but not necessarily as much as some of the others who stress that sort of financing more and have been around for longer. He actually had sort of a contest or some sort of game or something to try to generate more small donors, right?
Sure. Yeah, he was trying to generate interest through people, a contest to give me $5 and you can win a trip to meet me. And he, like other candidates, selling tote bags and mugs and that sort of thing, emblazoned with his image.
Mm-hmm. And Make America Obama Again hats, I suppose. Anyway, so let's talk about one of the most important areas. Since for him, we have a lot of information going back decades. What sorts of either industries stand out as being supportive of Joe Biden? Are there particular individuals that are noteworthy for having supported him in the past?
Yes, so his PAC is American Possibilities. It was formed in 2017, and so we have records from when it was formed in 2017 through the end of 2018. It raised $2.6 million. Some of the notable donors to that PAC include Timothy Gill, an entrepreneur in Colorado and a gay rights activist. And then also the Hollywood producers Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg. Those individuals gave to American Possibilities. And then we also saw from industry, we saw some contributions from, this is typical, from lawyers and people who are retired. A lot of contributions from those two groups, but also labor unions. And that's an issue that Joe Biden has actually recently tussled with President Trump over, his support of labor unions and who is going to have that that support in 2020. A lot of the blue collar working class folks ended up defecting from the Democratic Party to Trump's camp in 2016. So it's going to be interesting to see where those voters go in 2020 if Biden is on the ticket.
And I'm also curious, in terms of some of the big fundraisers that he's had in the time since he announced, have you been tracking any of who might have been supporting those or helping to organize fundraisers or anything like that?
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it, and I don't have any specifics for you right now. But yeah, it's something we're monitoring and watching.
And so more broadly, I'm also curious about sort of philosophically how the different candidates approach financing their campaigns. Has he, similar to other candidates, insisted that he will not take PAC donations, or where does he stand on fossil fuel money? Does he support campaign finance reform? Like outside of just his campaign, what does he think about financing in politics?
Yeah, so he hasn't really stepped out there like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have in terms of shunning big contributions or PAC financing, but he, in terms of campaign finance, he actually penned a column recently about dark money and how it needs to be eliminated from politics. And dark money is money that you can't trace the source of it. So it comes from nonprofit spending, and we just have no way of knowing who is backing a particular candidate when they're supported by dark money. So he spoke out against that. However, when he was running with Barack Obama, there's a strong possibility that Priorities USA, that they benefited from the dark money spending by Priorities USA.
Okay, well, perhaps he's involved in that as well. That's a good reform to make. I consider that like the ground floor in terms of reforms that you can do to campaign finance, but that's good information. We appreciate that. Sarah Kleiner, federal politics reporter for Center for Public Integrity. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.